Hey everyone, Chris here for Thomann Guitars and Basses, and I have the absolute honor of welcoming Steffen Kummerer from the band Obscura here in the studio. Today we're here to talk about this beast. This is the Savage 120 Mark II Obscura Edition. What is the official title?
It's the Obscura Signature sound.
Signature. Yeah. This is really cool. But before we get into this amp, you had this idea to wrap up the whole story between the band and ENGL, because you go way back, right?
Yes. Not only the band, but also me as a guitarist. I'm working with ENGL since 2008-9 these days. And I never changed since then.
Yeah.
I changed the different guitar amps, and I tried probably every amp they ever produced. Not the stuff from the 80s, but everything that was released after 2008. I think I had in my hands at some point, and in the very end, different nuances, but the core sound is always
It's recognizable. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Special sound, and I figured a lot of records I listened as a teenager have been recorded with ENGLs, and I just discovered now, which is very interesting because those have been my reference records for many years. So,
can you name a few of them? Because you mentioned one, I think, at least.
Yeah, a lot of those old In Flames records, At the Gates, the Moborgia. Basically, most of those records that have been recorded at Studio Fredman, where we just ended up a couple of years ago. They have been recorded with a similar amp like this, and it's quite a coincidence that we ended up working with a company that actually builds those amps we listened to as teenagers
without knowing it.
That's the point.
Can you name a couple of amps that defined Obscura albums or eras of the band?
Yes. I think the first combination we used in the studio was, we've been pretty much into rack units back at the time. We used a 840 50 watt tube amplifier, the rack version, and a 530 preamp, like a 2-channel preamp. Because at the time we didn't use too many clean sounds, we didn't use crunch or anything, so basically the high gain, and then that was enough for the time. And we recorded Omnivium and Acrosis with this combination. Wow. I still have the amps at home. I don't sell stuff like that. I always keep it. And years later I got the special edition, the 4-channel preamp, also the rack version. And I used it for many tours. But in the studio we changed towards a Fireball 100. It's more like the high-end part of the palette, and we recorded the album Diluvium with that one.
Wow!
Turned out really cool, very sharp.
Yeah, the Fireball has some rawness to it, which is something I always loved.
Yeah, we worked in the studio a little bit with certain EQ settings. We didn't use all of the high gain it offers because it's simply too much.
Crazy,
but it has a certain sound that differs from the other amps. And of course, sometimes you play live shows, you get different amps than you use at home because simply not everything is available everywhere. So of course we also used the Powerball, Powerball 2. That's pretty much common on festivals around the planet. Cool amp, has more like a rock sound towards it, but again the core is quite similar. For the last couple of records I used a Savage 120. And in the studio, but also in live setups. And that actually convinced me because it combines like the rock attitude you get with like a Powerball, but you also have those high-end headroom if you need it.
Yeah.
And therefore we ended up working together with ENGL and everyone behind the curtain on a little signature amp, because basically the company and also the sound defined the album, the sound, and well, our playing as well. And in the very end, if you have a good guitar and a good amp, you don't need much more.
When you write riffs or songs, do you usually plug your guitar in? Do you start jamming and get inspired by a sound, or is it much more of like a melody in your head and then just grab a guitar before you forget it? Which way around is it usually?
Usually I rather jam around.
Okay.
And for that I always plug in, but at home, I live in Munich downtown, I cannot run a full stack. So many years ago I bought a Gigmaster 15. It's a small tiny combo. I think it's even out of production.
I used the head version of that.
Oh really?
Yeah.
It's quite old. But I love that sound. It's very neutral, so to say. It's not very high gainy, but you hear basically every nuance in your playing. And therefore I still use it up till today. And I think that this amp is undestroyable. It's unbreakable, and I think it will outlive me as a person as well.
Let's talk about this beast. First of all, love the color.
It's red, it's fast.
Yeah, it's fast. What is different in this amp compared to like the normal Savage 120?
Of course, the look, as you mentioned, is a little bit different. It has a slight twist within the low mids. Like
different voicing. Okay,
slightly. So the range between 200 and 600 Hz is a little bit more forward, more present.
Oh,
so especially when you chuck, like when you play the palm muted riffing, like we are doing in Obscura, it's a little bit more. There's a little bit more whoop. It's a little bit more
punchier, I guess.
Straight in your face.
Okay, sounds good.
So less a rock amp, more like a real metal amp, so to say. And the tubes are also different.
KD88.
Yes.
I've seen. I just looked into it and like, oh my god, what are those? That's huge. 2 KD88s, right, in the power section.
Yes. So that is a slight different sound to the standard Savage 120. It's more built and twisted towards like a for metal guitarists. I mean, if you play rock, fine. If you play jazz, not ideal. I mean, you can. There's no right or wrong. But this is basically an amp built for metal and extreme metal in particular. And when it comes to the tubes, the gentleman in ENGL suggested that. And I mean, we work together. I'm a player, I'm a user, I'm on tour. They are the developers, and it's always a back and forth. And they recommended it, we tried it out, and if you make an A/B test between the regular Savage 120 and this one, you definitely hear the difference. And this is really cool. It's, nice. Again, a small tweak. It's not a completely different amp. It's a limited edition of the Savage 120 with a slightly different twist.
What will be your setting for a rhythm playing?
I reduced my gain settings a lot, simply to gain a little bit more clarity.
Yeah, more tightness, I guess also.
Yes. Yeah. Also, if you play the amp while you're sitting in front of it, it's super cool. But if you're on stage and you have the PA, you have a lot of noise coming around. You have some how you call it? Responses,
feedback, and everything.
Yeah, every room sounds a little bit different. So the less gain, the more clear.
The like low and rumble and those resonances that can really overlap if you have a lot of gain. Yeah,
and that's also the same reason I reduced my my loudness the volume in general over the years, a little bit less and less and less, simply to reduce diffuse noise on stage. Yeah. So it's something you learn by the years. Of course, when I started with like 16, 17, everything on 12.
Yeah, of course. Obviously.
Oh, we need another gain pedal in front of it.
I need a full stack. One more cat.
Yeah, so more is always more. And these days, I prefer to work a little bit on clarity. That's also the reason why we changed over the years from a 2-channel setup to a 4-channel setup. Okay. Not only because of the 2 different lead channels. Actually, I'm using 1 lead channel and one of the crunch channels for another rhythm setup.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So sometimes we have very, very busy parts with like half open chord ideas, and if you play them with a full gain setting, they get lost.
Okay.
So over the years, we established a system that we don't use any foot pedals anymore. And with an amp like this, I have the combination of both worlds.
Yeah.
Like on the one hand, you have the programming, you don't need foot pedals, you just play. And at the same time, you can use the advantages of all the different channels.
Yeah.
So while playing on stage and singing while playing, you change all the guitar channels from clean to crunch to rhythm to lead, and you don't have to think about it.
Yeah. You said both of you play this amp live. Would you set it up differently? Would you say like, I'll take a little more mid-range, you take a little less mid-range to compensate? Or is it more like just do your sound, feel good and play good and that's it, no more?
Usually both guitarists in the band play the same gear, but not the same guitar. And that makes a big difference.
Oh yeah.
So
the transient's different.
Some guitarists, they don't use EMGs.
Yeah.
So sometimes they have less gain output.
Yeah.
Not gain output, in general, less output. It's the signal is not as loud or sometimes not as distorted. Of course, we have to adjust a little bit, but and also, of course, every player is completely different.
A different touch.
So
if you hit hard or softer,
it's really hard at times to find like the thin line in between having like a coherent sound for the entire band, and at the same time keeping the characteristic of both players.
Yeah.
But in the very end, both players on stage play the same amplifiers, the same caps, the same outlines. But of course, the guitarist is a little bit different.
Of course.
Very important. This one goes to infinity.
True.
Some amps go to 11. This one goes to infinity. So that was a stupid joke.
I didn't see that. That's so cool. And every single knob has. That's perfect. I love it.
Yeah, without spinal tap. Now I really like the look, the sound, obviously, and we are going to use this one on the next North American run. So we have both of those amps already on hand, and well, if you're around, check it out.
Oh, absolutely.
Visit the tour, and well,
the tour starts mid-April-ish, I think, right? 20.
Yeah. Mid-April. We are starting in California, and then we play, I think, 32 shows in North America, and Canada, and the US, and then we end up in Los Angeles again.
Oh, nice. Oh, it's a full circle.
It's a full circle.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The entire thing.
Lots of miles to cover.
February 7th, we released the recent album. And for the recent album, we used the Savage 120 Mark II, the regular edition. But for the next one, and maybe even for the live record, we're going to work on a new live record. We definitely use this one. in the studio. And we have one of those units shipped to Freddie Nordstrom, Studio Fredman. And then we can do an A/B/C test with this old Savage from 1996, the Savage 120 we used in 2020, and now this one. And then, then we can really hear and see the nuances like on the meter and everything.
Nice. Looking forward to that. All right, thanks so much for showing the amp, and I wish you a really cool and successful tour. If you guys are around the US, definitely check it out. US and Canada coming up mid-April. And see you hopefully very soon again.
Would be a pleasure.
And thanks for coming over. And good luck with this beauty. You guys take it easy, and of course let us know in the comments below if you have any questions about the amp or Obscura or anything else. We'll come back to you. Bye-bye.